Greetings and welcome to Summer Helicon West, everyone.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, that too. Hey, we have room on the sign-up sheet, so anyone who has yet to sign up, or maybe you have something that's experimental or embarrassing and you've never had the nerve to share it, Summer Helicon is the time. Because, you know, we don't care. It's fine. Experimental stuff is sometimes the very best there is. So, if you are seized with the desire to do so, this will be on the back table until such time as I start calling people up. In the meantime, I have to turn the time over to Star for a couple of announcements.
Oh, okay. I should look straight at the camera when I'm doing this. The Rock and Words Poetry Walkabout, July 18th, July 18th, the third Thursday in July. We're going to meet at the Geology Building on campus, and we're going to have Jim Evans, the famous structural geologist, tell us what all of those amazing, immense rocks are, including the rock bench that was stolen, shipped out somewhere where it shouldn't have been. And so now you're going to really be enticed, and you're going to have to come to the Poetry Walkabout, 5:30, Thursday, 18th July. The next thing I have to announce, and by the way, walkabouts are great, and you always get inspired, and you will write. And I've brought a poem tonight to read that was inspired by my last Poetry Walkabout, which was at Bruce Bugby and Diana West's house and at River Hall Park. And this is the community, the Cache Valley Community Writing Center, which is right down here in the Bridger Room, every single Wednesday. At 5 o'clock, you can come to a workshop on any genre you can imagine. There will be a different one every time. People like Steph come and they present this fabulous writing stuff with a prompt, and you just write. And so another of the poems that I brought tonight is from the Community Writing Center. Plus you get free tutoring from 6 until 7. So any creative writing that you do, you can come and have one-on-one help with that piece. So you should come to the Community Writing Center. I'll be back up and read you my poems later.
Awesome. By way of tradition, we'd like to thank our library partners for allowing us a place to meet. It is awesome to have. We also must all thank our proprietor, Star, founder, our shining star, if you will. We have coffee in the back, the courtesy of Cafe Ibis, if anyone gets thirsty during the process. In the meantime, I'm going to call 3 of you up, and I'll come back up and announce the next 3. The first name is Asher Blakely, then Diane, then Ron.
I don't have a last name.
Do you want your last name?
No.
Diane Hardy, the attention person in the pink shirt.
Okay.
Look at me, Diane. Will come up second.
I just have a couple of poems. The first one is from the May Swenson Walkabout, because Star sent me the packet and told me to write a poem. So
Yeah, Asher did it.
So it's called Legacy. 1, mother to daughter. I wear my mother's face like I live in her disease. Once upon a time, I answered to her name. Her mother, who became also my mother, only knew Amy from rooms away without setting her eyes on me. Turned apocalyptic purple when I didn't admit to being Kona in addition to myself. Kona, Scots red and milk pale, freckles all her days. Kona, delicate of limb but Appalachian of will. Kona, dropped out of school, California bound, married a man, then left that sheltered life for an F-16. Kona, who later eloped in Vegas, 3 kids in as many years, ruined her figure, ruined her marriage, ruined her life. Kona, who forgot herself in the madness. And I, caught in her shadow, oldest child, only daughter, no sister indoctrinating womanhood with her secrets and lies, a colorless imitation beaten down young. 2, daughter to daughter. My daughter wears my face like a photograph pulled forward through time. I am 3 years old. Mommy, when did I have a Snoopy swimsuit? 5 years old. Mommy, I don't remember that sequin shirt. 7 years old. Mommy, who's the golden princess between those two Batmans? 9 years old. Mommy, where did your smile go? 11 years old. Mommy, why did your picture stop? 3, daughter to granddaughter. 2 days old. Congratulations, Mama, you get to take your baby home today. 2 months old. Grow up, you're a mother now. 2 years old. It's bipolar disorder, a lifetime of pills stretched before you, so you pray this madness skips over her, like the smile that will never stop gracing her cheeks, like the pictures she will take with her friends. Let her be a carbon copy, only half the lines traced on. The second one is called Father's Day, and this is from the walkabout we just did last week. Father's Day. He surrendered his final breath as May gasped its last. He dawdled those final years, a fish gasping at the end of a cannula, bound to a chair my mother couldn't push. He went quietly, lay down for an afternoon nap, curtains drawn, sun spread warm across his bed, cool wind creeping under the open window. His body burned in June, amid the first blush of heat and festival, tents blooming along the levee for a single weekend, air gone humid and thick with scents of ripened berries, fresh pressed lemons, and donuts frying before bathing in strawberry glaze. I like to think he held just long enough to gift me a homecoming during my favorite time, a return against years, ink smeared across pages folded neatly in his wallet after every June I knew him. My words, the only present he ever asked for. And this last one talks about a packer, which some people may not know what that is something that transmasculine individuals use to give the proper silhouette below the waist. And this is called What Love Looks Like. As budding teens, love is a display, glittery trinkets pulled out to stake a claim, defend the relationship boundary, a methodology of wrapping your beloved in wards crafted by some other magician. Sleight of hand, create an illusion. Here kneels a man, heart pinned to his palms, an offering. Nobody prepares for the moment when a wife, after a decade of marriage, unravels the script with truths chewing her apart like an ulcer. It is not that he is first denied the same as she denied himself. It is the way his husband comes around, admits how hard he finds this transition. It is the first time he releases the pressure of words he chooses not to speak, crafts his body to match his heart, places his packer in secret and wears his baggiest jeans as a kindness. It is his partner's laughter as he undresses that first time, cock positioned all wrong in his boxers, and he strips, "Here, honey, look at me," then spends an hour getting the placement just right. Love is standing in their bedroom almost naked, hair a wild tangle, breasts running wide, armor still black across his eyes and lips, dick perfectly positioned. It is the thickness of his husband's voice. God, you should see your smile right now. You are so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Pee in the pool. Upon retirement, trying to stave off the aging process, I joined a local health club, intrigued by a class called Rusty Joints. Arriving, I found 30 geriatrics with more coming by the minute. Women and men formed two groups, and each acted as if the other were the interlopers. One tall, angular woman was the exception as she cast longing glances over at the men, with shiny white hair, impeccably styled into a 1960s bouffant, eyebrows like crowbars, fire engine red lipstick, mascara, eyeshadow, and rouge. Her countenance said, I was beautiful many years ago. I'm certain you remember me. I walked to one side of the pool and began stretching my legs. A hostile woman, wrinkled as a spitwad, spine curved like a warped ruler, shrilly dismissed me. This here class is full. There are already 35 of us packed in here like sardines. The men occupied a whole corner. 2 were good old boying one another while others chuckled approval. The ringleader puffed out his chest and yelled, "Hey, Jack, ain't you married to a blonde?" "These days she's gray like me," Jack retorted. "Do you know what the blonde said when she found out she was pregnant?" Jack reddened and waited. "She said, 'Are you sure it's mine?'" The men guffawed. One shook his head in admiration. "Boy, that Gus, he's still got it, don't he?" "Yeah, he's a stitch for sure, and over 80, grinned another. A tiny lady, whose bright eyes looked out of place alongside her sagging gray skin, stepped into the pool. As she cleared the last step, she teeter-tottered in place, eyes focused on distant sights. And seconds later, she smiled and began taking warm-up steps. And the women scuttled away from her in disgust. Noticing my bewildered look, one snorted, "That Mary Margaret, Lady Margaret, she just peed in this pool. It's like she holds it until she gets here and then lets go. First thing every day, standing there with that stupid smile, proud of herself. They ought to kick her out." Our instructor began with leg lifts, then jumping jacks. One guy got out of the pool, loudly stating that he needed to make a potty stop. A woman sporting a heavy sleeve of flesh shook a blunt forefinger at him and sputtered, "You always pull that trick when we're doing the hard stuff. You'll be back when we work out with them spongy noodle things." "Well, at least he gets out to do his business, unlike some people," said the lady who had ratted on Mary Margaret. "This here's not no toilet, and people can just hold it till we're done." Someone wearing a hot pink polka dot suit and a frozen smile looked over at me. She broke from the women's circle and said sweetly, "You're new. Where's your husband?" I don't have one. I stammered, "I'm divorced." With a "piss on you" look, she turned her back to me. Suddenly, a huge, defiant woman entered the pool. She scanned the crowd and she walked toward me. "Hi, I'm Jackie. Who are you?" she belted. "Denise." "So what do you think?" she asked pointedly, looking at different people. "Don't let them get to you. They'll drive you off just like they tried to with me, but it didn't work. I've been coming here since this place opened 20 years ago. These people hate my guts, but it's 'cause I've knowed them since we was kids, and they can't pull the wool over my eyes. You see that one in that pink suit? That Miss Piggy?" "Yeah, she just asked me where my husband was," I said. "Aha, she's a wonderful one, a going with her guy on church missions and all, but I don't listen to her crap, 'cause I remember when she went to bed with every Tom, Dick, and Harry when we was kids. She had a hard time getting her man, 'cause in them days, men didn't marry the cow that give them the milk for free. Not hitched till 23 she was, nearly an old maid." Her tone changed, became sugary. "Well, I tell you, she changed overnight. Got religion. Had one of them there revelations." I resisted the urge to laugh. "Anyways, I've got the dirt on all these people, and they can stay clear of me because I tell it like it is. See that guy over there? That pompous ass is a Rockefeller. Claims to be a direct descendant of John D. himself. He's here every day bragging about his restored cars and his properties." "Oh, got lots of money?" I asked. "Yes," she shrugged. "See them guys all kissing up to him? Well, not me. He's no better than the rest of us. We all pee in the pool." "Really?" "You bet. Think about it. All of us over 65 and incontinent as hell. The water gets warmer and yellower by the minute." A cart was wheeled in with water noodles that we'd finish up with. A man pushed his way through and grabbed one of the two yellow ones. The rest were pink. "Real men don't wear pink," he explained. "And I'm still a real man, heh." "Congratulations, I'm so relieved," Jackie shrieked with laughter. A coughing fit followed. "Time for another coffin nail," she sputtered. Class ended, people left, and I was alone, feeling reluctant to get out. feeling there was something I wanted to do. Should I? No, you're an adult, said my voice of propriety. But it's an initiation, I answered myself defiantly. Then I stood up tall, took a deep breath, closed my eyes, put a smile, a loving smile on my face, and took a long, gratifying pee in the pool.
Hi, Ron.
When you think about Hannah, your 5-year-old niece, and after Simon, tell me please, what you do, just what you do, take the life of an innocent kid. I work from Hannah, from any of my kid. They're my dear family, and I love all of them. So I pray for the family, and we'll try to go on after the sad day when the lady's gone. Uncle Julie, thank you, Julie, for all you've done for me. I'm sorry if I hurt you. Please believe me. Didn't know it would be final when you said goodbye. After this vigil, I didn't know you died. So I sought to hear that you passed away and look forward to seeing you again someday. Thank you.
Just scandalous, you guys. Scandalous. Except for Ron, you're wholesome as always, but scandalous. Okay, our next people are going to be Star, followed by Vay, and then Teresa. And let's keep the scandalous thing going.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any scandal. Dang it.
Just mention something about boobs or something, Star. Just randomly in your poem. Just.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do it. So I told you that I was going to read you poems from the Cache Valley Writing Center prompt, Community Writing Center, and from a walkabout. I have this long poem that I wrote in poetry group as well, but I'll read this one. Oh, are you whining? Moaning? Okay. Poetry group, 3 p.m., April 10th, 2018. Oh, I think Erin is in this group. Okay, since you asked me, I won't mention boobs, but here's the other thing. So as people are reading their poems and we're workshopping them, I'm just writing because I didn't have a poem, and so I'm just scrawling things. So this is just fragments of, see, it has these big long slices through, so maybe I'll go like this between each slice. Licentious sleaziness of convention behavior, says our convention goer. And we all laugh heartily, deliciously, the adverbs pleading to please us, a glass sack clinching with bones, morning heralding all of us depraved poets, and evening whining like a hornet. Remember dying, remember these flowers, lilies so heady, a vicious sickness flashing through the sinus. Remember heaviness, blossoms nodding, casting off pollen, throat to throat, yellow shock of cough and stop. Remember the two-ness, the double emphasis, wary and dreaming and jumping back into a sorry togetherness, some words, some crimson, some hovering, some streaking, some white space, more weightless. A brutal imagery floats on the sheer skin of water filled to the bulge like a belly stretched almost transparent with such taut revelation. Two souls, two shall be one, merge and blend, ghosting, split shadow birth. Remember storm season, spring grass so bright green, a crust of shock white snow, only partial, only part way, like the thought of clouds and then a cyclone. As if it were our own doing, a bombing, Denver under siege of weather, 80s one day, ice wet wreckage the next. Blind, defaulted to climate, composting, comatosing. Come to me, and sing haughty all over the place. What would your heart say? Heart say, heart say. 80 times you've been burned by irony. Keener, a lot to believe on faith. Can't you just say you've learned what the rules are? Not a good sin keeper. It hurt me. I was 6 years old and nobody ever gave me an answer. Mirror it for my own clarification. I like Felicia's recommendation. Show a shift in your self-recognition. It would be neat if you reorganized. Water of shame, sensory image, contrast of drowning, the stark semiotics of chin-up. Mother, name the narrator, leave the father out. Needed, I just need the chain to be clear. What function is it serving? You've all been to these workshops and people say, well, what's your purpose here? What function is it serving? You're trying to keep a time and a place. We're going back to 9 and 11. Why do we need either? Do we really need these precursors? Do we really need to establish all this exposition? What's this mentorship? What happens when the dream is crushed? It would be elusive, could abide, a presentiment. Arable sanction. My God, I almost couldn't read that. These are good. Marriage can be like this. Just get to the idea of sanctum. Get to the echo of hardscrabble, not a verb, not an action, but a cherry nectarine of sunlight and a blessing ceremony made non-cheesy, non-religious. Back to the convention. What started it? She's staying with another sinful couple. They're in Vegas, while her bivalve hubby's thinking, Ruby, do not take your love to the convention. Thank you, Erin. Good stuff. So here's my poem from the Cache Valley Community Writing Center, April 10th. And it was Nate Hardy who was giving the prompts. Why has this belted sheaf of a girl stood in the field of my vision like corn stalks, like grass skirt dancing? When I was only 10, I wore a gold belt with my new black skirt I sewed, and with a soft white blouse tucked in, the outfit finished off with gold-dyed flats and straps across my ankles. Mother looked surprised and not a little pleased. I rode the bus, I'm sure of it. On the playground, I stood confident, no messing up my well-designed ensemble. I wouldn't have known that word, ensemble, but that's what it was. Were the other girls jealous? Oh, I imagined that. Poor farm girl who had to wait 3 years to wear a dress I liked, one I had to create by myself with pieces from the store and some from borrows, and all picked up, saved, and hidden until one day it was just right. On the playground, like a line of tractors, like a fright of Cinderella birds, kids came by and picked at my ribbons. Surely they did. For the memory of that outfit only goes to the sheaf of a girl standing lone and golden, for I never wore again that clear perfection, only the lesson of its molten ending, a glint on the field, pinched taut. The last one. This one was from the last poetry walkabout, and everybody had such wonderful poems, but I didn't even think I could read mine, and so I didn't, but now I will. Logan River Apology, from the pedestrian bridge between River Hollow Park and Sumac Park. We harness that river, strap it tight between concrete sides buttressed against breakouts. We bridle it, we smash that rollicking roar of clear power into slabs nearly touching each other, that water sluicing, crashing clear mirror fist of white caps slapping high-flown mist into the air. We harness that river. It roars in its chains, it slams and thunders and bellows, its sheer will a high scream only the purest of grievers for nature can hear. We cross it, our feet precarious over the high suspension, surprised that our hearts are so loud.
Yeah.
Alright, I have 2 poems tonight. The first one's one's about my dog that passed away last summer.
Oh,
It's titled Queen of the Jewels. An empty cushion, once the throne of a queen. Yesterday, her reign had just begun, and her golden furs did gleam. But in the midst of evening light, the sun sank into the shadows. O amber eyes, shimmer by night, and let your voice forever bellow. You were my queen, heir of wolves, and yet a companion, each sandy kiss token of your loving heart so full. Your bounding energy will be missed, so I reminisce our morning strolls. Oh, come hither, tears like sapphire, dribbled down my cheeks in gentle roll, for your sterling spirit has retired. And then this next one is titled My Song. You were the harmony to my melody, the synchronized symphony accompanying the buoyant bounce of my every note. But our song dissipated into a grumbling garble of ghostly noise, silencing shrieks and squabbling squeaks. Then your sharp tone pierced through the flat fog of noise, deafening my ears to the reckless racket. But the sound doesn't matter. I'm done. I'm finished blaring useless sound into this conundrum of clatter, and I refuse to play along to your broken song. For the record, I live my life allegro. That means I'm up-tempo. And when you hear my trumpet's cadence, know the tune's my everyday flow, and bitch, I can play it solo.
How do you follow that? I've got a couple of poems. This one is called Killing Fowl. 5 meat birds, 1 for each of us. Everything slapdash, the cone to invert them, off-sized and handmade. The knife hooked, not sharp enough to kill in one pass. Instructional videos from YouTube on repeat. We crowded around, neoprene gloves, too small. We burst through and changed them with every action. Energy like the sidelines before a game, nervous and filled with danger. First, the slaughter. 1, a cascade of shit, as it tilted toward death in a metal cone nailed to a post. 1, a cascade of tears, words of tribute, back held straight, gaze held away from a bucket of fresh blood and feathers. 1, a cascade of memories, grandfather's farm, living the land, eating what nature provides when the blade is sharp. 1, a cascade of blood, kicking so hard the cone fell from the post and bounced, the dying bird stuck inside. 1, a cascade of fox, because he would not die, they cut the windpipe by mistake. He gasped, he wheezed, amid the pitiful realization. Someone solved it, sawed through trachea, esophagus, spinal column, flesh and feathers, that same dull knife, wrenched free the head entirely as the open neck dripped on uncovered ground. Then the butchery, fistfuls of fine feathers ripped by hand, then pliers, even tweezers for the quills, like they were stray eyebrows, not the dead, showy stuff of raised flesh cooling as we worked. Blood flow, 5 rent necks across the stainless table, up to our elbows, on our shoes, in our noses. Broken legs snapped off, crisp and loud. Soft squelch, intestines in the bucket, gizzard and crop, liver and heart to the dogs, tug the lungs to dislodge, precious gallbladder unruptured, all heaved through neck cavity in a wet heap. Undertakers of our own dinner, barbecued that afternoon, I found a quill in my breast as I chewed slowly on skin. This one's called Spring Cleaning. The day my boyfriend's mother told him she would kill herself, I cleaned the oven. I mean well and truly cleaned it. Knees on the cold tile, hair kept out of the way in a bun. I reached deep inside the oven's dropped jaw, all the way to the back, cut my hands on the old metal teeth supporting heat coils along its ceiling. While my partner called his grandfather, crying, fuming, hurting, I scrubbed the white, burnt crust from the sides of our oven, watched it flake and fall to the black goop of the oven's floor, My muscles ached as I arched my head inside to scrape the back, burnt brown water from the rag running to my elbows. I vacuumed out the debris knocked to the floor, but even when I'd washed both racks and watched the rust-dark water swirl down the kitchen drain, nothing was better. I didn't know what to say. So I kept on cleaning, worked my stained and pruny fingers over the grease trap, reorganized the cupboards, and threw out what had gotten old. When he didn't have anything to say, I emptied the fridge and the freezer, took out the shelves, wiped jar bottoms, and debated where ranch dressing should go, in the door next to the vinaigrette or down by the sriracha and ketchup, a multi-purpose condiment. The satisfaction of wiping up old spills, and God, so much hair somehow, felt good, so I kept working until I had run through the whole Clorox bottle and all but the last cleaning rag. By this time, my partner had joined in. I found the shower scoured and the bath accessories reorganized, the toilet and mirrors gleaming, the sink pristine. 5 hours after his mother had sent him her note, my boyfriend and I surveyed our glistening home and held one another without letting go for a long time, and without saying anything. There's one more, Sneak one more in. This is from the May Swenson Walkabout a little while back. And I was working off the quote from Something Goes By May Swenson. My dad built our house, poured concrete for the basement, sawed timber for the frame. So I wrote this, what Dad built. The projects of my father number in the several hundreds, like a count of the stubbled brown hairs left on his chin after he shaves his goatee, like a count of the colors in the brute mutt blend of hair that only halos his head now, red, now gray, now brown in the aging sunlight. Count the cigarette butts he won't admit that drag him to my brother's backyard with the urgency he craves. Dad's projects count like the memories of my childhood. Tear the rose bushes, plant the tulips, the carrots, the trees, and the treehouse. You can cut your own tile if you just have the tool. You can paint it, can build it, dry the bouquet if you just work. Start the work. If you just work through each day, you can start so many countless projects. Dad, work years away, count the days you've unfinished projects, and subtract the days since you last saw your daughter. Dad, yes, I'm still here. Tell me about your latest project.
Awesome, you guys. Very, very, very good. Sign-up sheet. Anybody else? Well, going once, going twice. I talked myself into it. Anyone else? All right, let's go with Kenzie, then Chad, and then myself.
Okay, well, I'm new, and I'm not really a poetry writer, but I have been, I am more of a book author. I write stories, although I've never actually finished a book, because I get distracted with a different story. I think I might. And this is just a piece of one of the books I've been trying to write recently, so I don't have a title for it, but yeah. There are different kinds of love. They sometimes look similar, enough to fool us, but different, so that only our experiences help determine which type it is, and whether it is desirable enough to receive. Usually, the first we experience in our lives is unconditional, followed by selfless acts, support, and encouragement. Normally, it comes from our parents, guardians, siblings, and eventually friends. It's basically familial. You live with it. Sometimes we also experience fake or conditional love, where one party only contributes what's necessary to receive certain benefits. It's selfish and causes so much pain. But when we're lucky, we experience a romantic love where it's mutual, no fine print or hidden strings. It's what some people in fairy tales call true love. Although it's a silly idea, it's also nice. That kind of love could be what saves you in more ways than one, after the damage of an abusive or manipulative experience. But there are other kinds that seem even more unhealthy. Controlling and abusive relationships are among them, but humans can recover from even those. But how do you heal when someone you love took their own feelings too far? How do you comprehend that they loved you so much they became obsessed with you and want to protect you at all costs? however dark or construed their methods become. How do you even begin to forgive that person who loves you, whom you once loved unconditionally? People are complicated, so are emotions.
Hey.
Hi, Chad.
They're fixing that river. They're taking it out of those concrete, I don't know if you've seen the stretch between the Second East Bridge and Elements. You know, it's wide, the river plan is wide and shallow. There's going to be native vegetation on either side. Rendezvous Park is done. Rendezvous Park looks like a stretch of the Canyon River. If things keep up, it's going to be nicer to fish down here than it is up in the canyon. It's really, they are turning things around. I don't know what happened. I don't know who's asleep at the switch, but this Logan River Task Force is cleaning that river up down here in the urban area.
Yes.
So that's what sealed the deal for me to read. I'm going to read about a different river.
Good.
So this is about Tim. This story is all about Tim. And this one time, he took me up to Mink Creek to, navigate the private land and stuff and get on some good fishing water. And this is the end of the story. This is a new essay that I'm working on. Tim takes me up to the river and we talk about all the conservation issues and the private property issues and stuff. And this is sort of the end of that. It took Tim and me about an hour to cover the 3 miles of Benson Road to the Forest Service boundary. There we emerged onto the public land and into a wide, welcoming sea of wild, waving grass. It looked a lot like wheat, almost waist high and glowing flaxen in the sunshine of a waning summer. At the far end of the meadow, a pair of doe watched us clear the final gate, then wandered off into a brake of juniper. A half-mile later, the Benson Road vanished among the grass and aspens. Tim strolled the creek bank, scanning the hillsides of his erstwhile birthright. The air was filled with dragonflies, yellow jackets, dusty gray caddisflies, and vaulting hoppers. It was a hot day, but there was a wind blowing in from that place where summer contends with autumn. The scrub oak leaves were turning orange. I think I'll come up here and deer hunt this year, Tim announced. But he wasn't scouting deer, not really. He was recollecting. I knew I should have done this. Tim's stories had turned mostly to the topic of hunting, and most involved his father. We came up here one time to hunt the steeps, me and Dad and my brother. I came up early that morning, and I was waiting for them on that cliff right there, or maybe that one. And then I realized they ditched me, crossed underneath me. Oh, I was pissed. So I come blazing down this way and start heading home. He was pointing at the far-off cliffs, retracing his route. Back then, I'd carry a magazine in this pocket, one over here, ammunition magazine, one over here, and the gun was loaded. As I'm heading back, I see this line of bucks coming down the ridge right here. Nice ones. I don't have any time to get any closer, so I open up on them, but I've got no chance of hitting anything. They're like 300 yards away, so I'm going blam, 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 and they just keep coming. Tim pantomimed firing the rifle. You didn't hit a single one, I said, not even like by mistake? Tim grinned and held up an index finger. I get down to my last shot, and I finally drop one, a 3-point. Tim could single out almost any hilltop, creek bed, or wrinkle in the mountain and tell you something that occurred there, a ghost story for every piece of terrain. Earlier in the piece, he tells me the Mink Creek ghost story. At last, I waded into Mink Creek. The cool, swift water cascaded over my sandals, feet, and ankles. I covered the nearest favorable water with a caddis pattern and instantly caught a 12-inch brook trout. The variegations on his back were small and fine. His belly was bright yellow, like a banana in the sun, and his head was as dusky as a grape. I unhooked the fish and let him go, and when I realized that Tim hadn't even brought his fly rod. When I mentioned it, he shrugged and stood on the bank to watch me fish, delighted that we'd finally made it to the upper Mink, delighted that the fish were amenable. I caught dozens more before we hiked back to the truck, but I've already remarked on how this story ends. Tim said Alan Barber moved back to Mink Creek shortly after the County Commission's 2015 decision to leave this road open so that we could get up there. And if history serves as any lesson about the future, the fighting is due to erupt again any day now. As of that September evening in 2018, the Benson Road, ruinous and nearly impassable, was still open. But I can't say if it's open today or will be tomorrow. As we got back into the truck to drive to town, I said to Tim, "So you grew up in Preston, but this right here was basically your backyard." "Oh, definitely," said Tim, nodding soberly. "Actually, not even that," he added, scanning the hills again. "This is our home. This is where we really live." Thanks.
Yeah,